So, this process of you creating, well, first, I want to say thank you for asking me to do this with you and to
Of
bring
course.
your vision to life. Like,
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm such a big fan of yours. And like, this is,
As am I of you.
oh, thank you. But it's really, really fire, the album and the I really want to make the parallel between like a producer and almost like a film director in a way
Hmm.
because there's so many moving parts, so many factors. It's a whole story concept, all of the collaborations you have in this, how you have to bring all of it to fruition and get everyone on board for your vision, and then you're going to be sharing it with the world, and they get to have it. And it's almost like a visual experience, but sonic. So the movie Inside Out, your album Inside Out, how do you feel about it now that it's just over? Like now that it's going out into the world?
I feel very blessed and grateful and relieved
Yeah.
that it's now about to go out into the world. It was by far the easiest music process I went through, to
Mm.
be honest. I'm grateful that, I had a budget to kind of create in a new and different way, but I had a lot more freedom, to be able to travel and say, oh, I want to work out of this studio in LA, or I want to work out of this studio in Atlanta, or, you know, my favorite studio in New York City, Bunker, right next door. So just having like, financial freedom to be able to work out of certain spaces where it grants you more access to certain musical equipment and other resources, and just people too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you said
So
it's easier this time. So past times, what was like the main difference in the process?
probably a lack of resources and just like not being able to move at will when you say, I want to move and just hop on a flight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're with, uh, you know, a part or music business partner to help fund whatever it else is that you need, uh, it makes life easier, like objectively. There's other moving parts to it that you have to work through, but I think overall, you know, it was a much easier experience in terms of the workflow. And also, I got better,
Mm-hmm.
and just I like to think of myself as a music archivist in a lot of ways. I'm a nerd about it.
Mm.
I do a lot of research. I do a lot of digging. I do a lot of listening. In each interim period from one project to the next, like when me and Ryan were working on Cafe Noir, I'm already ideating what it is I want my next album to sound like,
Mm.
um, and just diving in to a number of different sounds and textures that I haven't delved into before. So, yeah, I think as you get older, um, you just naturally evolve and get better at life. And as long as you're making a concerted effort to become a better human being and just grow and be cognizant of all the things happening around you, it makes the music making process a lot easier as well. Like, oh, okay, I've done that before. And you just have a lot more clear direction of like where you want to go. You get older,
Mm-hmm.
when someone asks you like, do you want to go out? You're like, no. You're a lot more certain in the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with the ideas, creative wise, I'm this process was easier because I'm like, oh, I'm not overthinking it. It's all feeling based. I would go back to an idea and say, okay, this works, this doesn't work, but in like the older process, like 2020 to 2023, but a shift happened in my sound in 2024 where I became a lot more certain of my ideas. And if I play a chord progression, I'm like, nah, that ain't it. I'll just revisit. I may revisit it, but 9 times out of 10, I'm a lot more certain about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish musically.
Mm-hmm.
So a mix of just like creative freedom, financial freedom to create in different spaces, um, made that process a lot easier this time.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that shift in it becoming easier for you and you becoming really comfortable with your perspective, was that like parallel to what was going on in your personal life, or how was it? How what was like the internal shifts? I guess that kind of brought that forward. Was it just time and time in the process?
Yeah, time and just like my maturation as a man,
Mm-hmm.
like what they say, your frontal lobe like fully
Prefrontal cortex.
develops. I literally say, I tell people like this is my grown man album, you know,
Mm,
because like Love and Chaos, you're just trying a bunch of ideas. That was a bedroom album, like where I was creating everything out of my bedroom. Now it's a different
wow.
process. Like I have obviously have much more responsibility, but I understand what it is that I need to do, and I don't overthink things anymore. So it's I call this like my frontal lobe developed album, so to speak. So
I
yeah,
get that. Man, and it really does sound like that. Like I feel like one thing that I can always attribute to your sound is that I'm always gonna feel like enriched and luxurious and like literally the first time I listened to it was I made a smoothie and I put it in a wine glass and it's just like such a vibe.
you know what was crazy? Somebody said, uh, one of my friends said this, but I get this from a lot of women. They say the music makes them feel sexy, and that's the goal. I want like I want every woman to feel like enriched and empowered and sexy when they hear the music, you know. So
Yeah.
it's the goal is for it to sound a bit more sophisticated, and that's what that sounds like. You said glass of wine and smoothie. That is very grown.
Yeah, it is grown.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's, and I think it just comes from like the sonic sophistication of it. Cause you have, I feel like flute is a main character in this. You also have a lot of beautiful, like lush, like sound design in it too. And I love, and I was wondering actually, like, what do you think are the most, I guess, romantic instruments? Like, what do you have to have in order to kind of create that atmosphere that makes women feel sexy, like you said?
You gotta have roads. You gotta have
Rhodes
roads.
piano. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
you gotta have roads. I feel like there are other like chordal instruments that you can use to, you know, evoke a certain emotion. But I feel like that because there's this effect called a tremolo, and that kind of plays with the oscillation of things. Like you could have a slow tremolo or a fast tremolo, but you hear it in a ton of jazz music from the mid and late 60s and early 70s. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Obviously, neo soul. That's
Mm-hmm.
why, in my opinion, that's why people love it so much. Like when you reference a track like "Getting in the Way" by Jill Scott, that's the
Mm.
first thing you hear is the Rhodes and like whatever speed they had the tremolo set at. That's what evokes a certain emotion, and for me, I'm like, this just feels so, I don't know, sophisticated in sound. And so I would say, Rhodes, and then after that, I would maybe say guitar for sure, because it depends on like it. There's so many pedals that you can run a guitar through to give you different sound effects. Like a lot of people who know my sound know I love flanger and phaser. It's a certain effect that makes the tone of the instrument oscillate, so it sounds like water. So
Mm.
visually, if I had to describe it, I would say it sounds like that. Even with the Rhodes, you can have that kind of visual sonic effect going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know about the frequencies, like on that level in terms of like how it works psychologically
Or
and
like hooks and all
scientifically.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I'm familiar with some of the terminology, but I don't know what uh, frequency is hitting like within people to make them
Real.
feel a certain emotion. But I
Mm.
know, okay, those two instruments are tried and true, and then you have other,
I
you
mean, I
know,
even hear harp in your work too.
yeah, yeah. That goes into like the archivist stuff I was talking about
Mm-hmm.
with, you know, you start to understand that you've been hearing all of these sounds like throughout your musical journey on whatever educational side or just like for casual listening. And for me, I wanted to infuse all of these things that I love, whether it's harp, because I love Dorothy Ashby, and
Mm-hmm.
then also shout out Brandy Younger as well. Um, and then flute, you know, I love listening to a lot of like Hubert Laws's music. That was a big inspiration for me, even when I was still living in Atlanta. So this is going on 5+ years of me understanding and loving that sound. And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, I have access to the resources to help make this musical world what it is. And all of these sounds have, I don't know, I've always looked at as very sexy, lush instruments to make the music what it is.
Yeah. And that was interesting too. I'm glad that you brought up those influences because I had a really hard time pinpointing references for this album. Like
Good.
usually that's the very first thing that I hear music that way. I'm always like, oh, this reminds me of that. This reminds me of that. But I'm like really had to like what does this remind me of outside of your past work?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it was very like self-referential and like
Hmm.
you have really solidified your sound and like you said, you like know yourself more now.
Yeah.
Do you feel that for your work too?
Yeah. The thing is for me, obviously I want to love it first. I have to love it before I put it out. But I think, I don't know, I figured out a certain specific sound with Love and Chaos, and now with this one, I wanted to push myself in a lot of different ways. I'm like, I know if I challenge myself and put out the music that I love, it's also going to challenge the ears of listeners.
Yeah.
That was the goal, right? I wanted people to feel something new and different that they hadn't heard before, but I wanted it to also feel extremely nostalgic to something. And that's why we're having this conversation and we dive into those influences. It's like, oh, I love that song, but you approached it in a different way. You know what I'm saying? So, and obviously like incorporating a number of like new influences, because I'm not gonna say I know all the music in the world. There's a ton of music that I like stumbled upon where I was like, oh nah, I've never heard anything like this. You know, I want to figure out how to incorporate this influence or this music and figure out how to integrate it and infuse it into my sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were like your personal wins for that? Like things that you probably only knew like, dang, like, okay, cool. Like I found this or I discovered this about my process, but that you haven't really gotten to share.
Ooh, I think there's a few different things. Cause there was an entire process and approach to how I produced the songs, composition wise, and what I was doing arrangement wise. One of the biggest wins was, you know, the arrangement of the songs. Cause Love and Chaos, there's a bridge on every song, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a bridge on every song pretty much for Cafe Noir. But this one, as I've been playing the record in private for people, they say I wasn't expecting to hear that chord change right there, and that was a personal win for me. Even if it's not like known to the masses, as long as one person says I wasn't able to, I wasn't expecting that chord change right there, it's a win for me. You know, because that means someone was listening super like intentionally and they caught that. Like Reasons Why with James Tillman, the form is so strange. There's like an 8-bar verse and then a 6-bar hook, another 8-bar verse, and then it's 3 verses, 3 hooks, just following that same pattern. Traditional R&B structure, or just pop music in general, does not follow that like formula. I was kind of not necessarily doing whatever, but the whole concept of oxymorons played a role into, you know, what I did musically and just ideating what I was doing with the creative direction for the visuals. That was the foundation for the music to stand on, with all of these weird chord changes that kind of hit you out of nowhere. I basically did a bridge, so to speak, or a refrain for every song on the album, like where there was a key change on the hook specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why it felt a lot different and unfamiliar in some ways. But at its core, it's still me. It's just another extended branch of the sound now.
I think so too. And I know, yeah, and now that you say that, that's really, really true. Like I I loved Love and Chaos. That was what introduced me to your music. And I was like, oh man, like this man gets it. It's all about bridges. Like he's bringing them back. Like he's carrying bridges on his back. But yeah, in this album, I feel like it really has like a settled kind of energy around it. And I love the joint with Mac Keen because that,
I had a feeling that was gonna be your
yeah,
favorite.
I was like, that'd be a crazy question to be like, which one do you think I like the most? But like, I really like that one because I mean, is it giving 251 and is it
Yeah, that's
okay? That's all
that's the
251.
progression. Yeah, like
Okay.
except the B section is
Okay.
a little different, but it does resolve on a 251, and
Mm,
I can go over like the chord progression next door,
yeah, we
like
can do that.
because, but yeah, that I love that song too. I was
Mm-hmm.
like I can't. There's gonna be a bunch of 251s here, but for me, I try to figure out how to approach it a different way, and that's why Stevie Wonder is my goat. Like you hear 251s all throughout 50s and 60s, 70s, or just jazz music, point blank, period, before
Yeah.
the cool jazz era. But the thing that I talked to one of my best friends, Alex, about, who plays guitar on all my music, we used to nerd out about Stevie a lot in college because of his approach to 251s. It's like, this is at its core, yes, this is the chord progression, but he goes a lot of different places that you would not expect for it to go because a lot of it is just dun 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 dun, and it follows that same like uh, sequence.
Mm.
But that was kind of what I studied from Stevie, and I try to like approach it with that same mindset. And so you think about the track with Mac, that was like a bit more rooted in at 251's core. But then I was like, I need to switch it up at some point to kind of throw a wrench in there, but then tie the idea back in with how the chord structure resolves at the end of the phrasing.
Mm.
So,
Genius. Incredible. Yeah, I would love to talk about more of the collaborations too, because I mean, it's you got Malaya on here, you got Caddy Bonet, Matt Keen, uh, Foggy Raw,
yeah.
Gremlin, Pink Sifu. Who
Who
else
else
do you
would?
have?
That's what I was gonna say.
Amaria.
Yes.
Um, Man, I hope I didn't miss anybody. But if I did, I probably did it. I'm doing this off the dome.
No, you're
But
good.
what's incredible is that, like, I wasn't expecting to see those people's names, but then when I saw them, it all made sense. And then I was like, oh yeah, he knows ball. Like
I try.
the craziest, like if you know, kind of like artist.
Hmm.
So with that being so many new collaborations and also, yeah, James Tillman being like a recurring collaboration, what would you say is like the key to working with people you never worked with before and just like your mindset around collaborating?
You know what's funny? All the other collaborations I've done where people kind of like really love that music, I was a lot more hands off than people would think. Like,
Mm.
because a lot of the work was done virtually over the course of the pandemic too, in preparation for these albums. So, like, Love and Chaos went through like a fall of 2020 period up until really a month or two before the album came out. So it was like 2 years of working, but it was done virtually. So you kind of give people the gist of what it is that you're looking to accomplish. Like obviously you have people who just understand the assignment and know what they need to do, like Amber Nirvan from the Moonchild. She
Mm-hmm.
just gets it.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. She's just so incredible. So sometimes I'm not necessarily worried. Like I handcraft and handpick people very intentionally. But in working with new people for the album, where it's just like, okay, I love their sound and music, and I got to figure out a way to make it gel with mine. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the most rewarding part about it once you finally execute. Um, but the unknown is like, I love to test those waters and just see where it goes. Sometimes you have an idea that absolutely like smashes, and then other times you think it's gonna be like a walk in the park, and it's really not. It's like, oh damn, that didn't go at all how I expected it to go. All that said, this process again, being in the new situation that I'm in now, it allowed me to be in the room with like 90% of the artists,
Wow, very cool.
and that was like, as I've grown as an adult, you know, you have to learn how to have uncomfortable conversations. It's the same thing with creativity. You have to tell somebody when you don't like something. It's a way to communicate it though. You know, you say, hey, maybe we try it this way. Or a lot of the times I had to demo it out myself and just like do a
Mm.
reference while they're in the room. They're like, oh, I get it. Because sometimes, you know, a lot of artists, what I'm realizing, at least in the R&B space, there aren't a lot of bridges, you know, and if you throw a 2-5-1 bridge in there, a lot of people don't understand or know how to approach it. And that's okay, but that's where I come in along with other musicians around me, and they say like, no, this is how you approach it, this is how you like sing within the proper context of this bridge right here. So it's a lot of, you know, work that goes into it, but that was the most difficult part of this album, and it posed a lot of new challenges for me. So it was just like, oh, okay, I have to be a lot more vocal about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, and just saying no to, no matter how sweet the person is, it's just like, yeah, this isn't working, you know. And music, you can't take these kind of things personal. It's just, it is what it is. We want the best idea to go out into the world.
Yeah.
'Cause once you put it out, you can't take it back, you know. So that's what that process was.
Yeah, like serving the vision.
Exactly.
And you felt like each person served the vision of Inside Out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this was, I mean, I had my partner in crime, Ryan, you know,
Yeah, Gremlin.
writing with me. So it was just
sick.
like, hey, bro, like, I got a spot in LA. If you could book your flight, I want you to be a part of all these sessions. Even if you're not writing on every track, I feel like one, your presence is like needed for this, and it's nice to have your bestie in the session with you.
that's
You
your
know,
guy.
it makes things a bit more comfortable
Yeah.
for you. But I mean, he's a very incredible writer. I feel like a lot of people don't know that about him.
Yes, he is.
He's a really incredible writer. So if I have a melody, I just say like, hey, bro, what are you thinking? Like, or he'll ask me, or he'll know the context of the album and the concept of it. And we just kind of go back and forth like, all right, I have this melody. Do you have words for it? Okay, you have a melody. I have words for it. And just kind of crafting it in that way was really helpful, like having him come in on that side. So I feel like that made the process a lot easier as well.
What songs did he write on?
He helped me co-write the intro, Pure Temptation. He wrote pretty much all of Perfect Imperfections.
Really?
He pretty much wrote all of the track with Kanye, Forever Near.
Wow.
Mind you, we just like recording this and just sending it off.
Yeah.
And then just allowing the other artists to execute. And shout out to them too. Like real songwriters, I don't even want to say real songwriters. Good songwriters know when to take a back seat to good writing. You know, for me, if I'm in a session with another producer, I'm not gonna want to disrupt the idea. It's like, oh, it sounds good. You need me to do this? Cool. If it's for the betterment of the idea. Yeah, so Mac, like he went in and killed it, added like all the necessary sauce that he needed to add. He wrote all of Summerfall with Amaria, like 100% of that song. He's just like, what do you want to talk about?
Brandon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, what do I want to talk about? This is the concept. Okay. He's like, I got this melody. What you think? I'm like, sounds great. I was like, maybe add this. And I'll come in and it's just like vocal production meets lyrics, vice versa. We just figure it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wrote his verse on Mood Ring. He helped co-write the title track with my vocals, Inside Out.
Wow.
He helped write Temporary Love. So he was on
Your
like,
voice is on there too?
yeah, that's
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
me.
figured I was like, I don't know if he wanted to have his voice on the album or not, or you used someone else's. Okay, very cool. Yeah. Wow. And then you also had Ricky Monique and Sebastian Michael on there too.
Yeah.
That is another one of my favorite songs on there. It's like, I love a duet, and I love I love the lyrics. I feel like really good storytelling in that one, and just really great feeling. I love Ricky Monique's song Immortal, and like I love Sebastian's stuff, and I love the stuff that you've done with him in the past too.
Yeah.
So I was like happy to see him back on another project with you too.
Yeah, I think, you know, my goal is to always introduce new voices and talents, right? I want that to be the bulk of it, but at the end of the day, I've built an incredible chemistry with a lot of these artists who I'm close with, like Seb and James and Ryan. So even if they're not involved to the capacity that people are expecting, I'm gonna have them be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. You know, me and Seb actually have another song that didn't make the album.
Oh.
I was like, let me just save this, you know.
Okay,
I
okay.
felt like it would live differently and better in another world off the project. But he was like super down. I was like, oh, this is what I have in mind for you to be on the hook. And he was like, yeah, I got you. And that was that. So, but if I'm gonna introduce a new or a frequent collaborator, let me figure out how to put them on a song with someone new, like Ricky, you know, obviously. And shout out to her. I'm so excited for her to be heard on this album because I feel like that's going to be a unexpected song for
Yeah.
people to see and hear.
Yeah, like I had a star on that one. I had a star on Perfect Imperfections, and I had a star on the one with Kent Jams.
Kent Jams,
Yeah,
yeah.
I hadn't heard of Kent Jams before
Do
this
you know
either.
the group Overdose?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
what? Last Kiss?
Yeah.
Wow, that's sick. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool.
I feel like a lot of people are gonna have that same reference point. It's like, oh, like I love Overdose, and it's like, wait, no, that's Kent. Yeah, that is Kent. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I love the feeling of that one too. So those are like my three. And then you also were telling me that it was a lot of it was narrated by Margot.
Yeah, so she's on. So the intro has three different women I'm dialoguing with. I
Okay.
wanted to go ahead and say that just in case people think it's the same woman. It's like, no, there's like different textures that are introduced. But then she, me and Ryan wanted to write out this long, like kind of monologue piece where she feels like this genie, like kind of swirling in your
Yeah, you
mind or
had the
whatever.
perfect selection of
That was
artists.
the
Like
goal.
oh wow, yeah,
And like
she
even
gives.
with the engineering of the song, I wanted to make sure that there's this effect called Pan Man. So if you listen in headphones,
It's like
she's
going back and
going
forth.
from
Yeah.
left to right, but it's like pretty like heavy. And that was the goal there. So also that the music could like occupy a certain space as well. Um, yeah, her voice and texture is like perfect. Because
It
I was trying to
was.
find somebody. I was like, I need someone to, you know, like I need the perfect voice and texture, like to that feels like again, sexy and lush keeps coming back up, but that was the goal there. I was like, I need her to be on the intro and the outro, you know, but this woman kind of like guiding me in a sense, like that's why it's called pure temptation, but that's an oxymoron in and of itself. There's nothing pure about temptation.
Real,
So
real.
that was the goal there, and then having her on the end is the resolution. Like, hey, in order to, excuse me, get this key to unlock her heart, these are all the things that you need to do. Yeah, yeah.
So how did you come up with the narrative, the
Uh,
poetry of that?
this started literally 2 years ago, like October 2023. Um, the goal for me was just trying to figure out how to correlate the worlds of the color wheel and love and relationships and like the highs and lows of that. I guess now I get into like why it's titled Inside Out
Yeah.
and the oxymoronic like titles that you see throughout the album. I have a lot of homies that work in the design space. You know, I do a lot of my own creative direction, but I wanted to just pick a lot of people's brains about, you know, the color wheel specifically and just other design techniques. I'm like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And through them educating me on a lot of the color wheel terminology, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna approach it from a very base level standpoint with, okay, you have red and green. You equate that to two people in a relationship, right? And say I'm red, my significant other partner is green. The goal for me was to figure out like, okay, how do these primary colors complement one another? Because they are complementary on paper, right? It's like you walk outside and you see people, a cute couple, and like, oh, they look so good, but you don't know the ins and outs and the other nuances uh, within that relationship and what people have to go through to make it work, right? So I wanted to tell a story about like my own personal life with dating and my early, mid, and late 20s. Because it's a struggle, like especially in a city like New York City. Like there's a lot of people who are like non-committal and stuff like that. And if you are the monogamous type, you might be looking for that. So say we have red and green. I'm red, the other person's green. Man, this green looks so good, but you start to get into the other like parts of that green and you realize it's too saturated for you, or they may not possess the right hue, tone, shadow for you specifically, right? And that is like kind of so inside out. It carries so much within the name because, and I spelled it that way too because you look at it and you think, okay, why is it spelled this way? It's supposed to mean in sync, but it's not. It doesn't finish spelling out in sync. And then you have inside out and the opposites being on the same color wheel. And then you dive into all the other things and complexities that I mentioned. It's just sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you expect it to. So, when you're in a city like New York or really in any major city in the US, you just kind of go through a lot of situationships and your goal is to like find a primary partner for you or like a soulmate, so to speak. And I wanted to figure out a storyline where you go through this treacherous journey, so to speak, and have a lot of internal like moments to get to where you ultimately want to get to yeah, just figure out the person for you. And that's why we have pure temptation. You go through like lust and love and trying to like figure out what that means exactly. Because a lot of the times where you think something is love, it's actually just lust. Where you think somebody's for you, whether the timing is like not right. And we kind of go into a lot of those nuances within the album. But at the very end, you have the title track Inside Out. And the first line is, I'm feeling pressure, a vice that keeps inviting me. And it kind of ties back to the first song, but the next line is, I'd like to take my time with things. You just learn from all the things within the last 11, 12 tracks that got you here. You have a much better understanding of yourself. I'm speaking about me, but this could apply to anyone who's listening to the album and wants to understand the storyline. You have to like make a lot of sacrifices for the other person. You have to have a super deep understanding of yourself. It takes a lot of reflection to get to where you ultimately want to be, to where it's an equal, things feel, trying to figure out the right words. But all in all, I say that to say you just go through this journey where you are going through a ton of ups and downs, whether it be situationships, relationships, long term, short term, and you figure out what you need on an individual level and also figure out what your partner needs so you can complement one another so that you can get the right shadows, tones, and hues and stuff
And
like
all
that.
that went into the title.
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. So how long did you sit on the title or like get that concept together? Or like, I've like, do you journal a lot?
I do.
Okay.
Every day.
So was this something that you had been sitting on and figuring out and then it just like hits you like, that's it?
Yeah, I think it started with the mood board when I was writing out the color wheel, and I was just writing out a bunch of like oxymoron titles. And then the next month, I was like, oh, I got the title for the album, and I hadn't laid not nary a note on anything. It was just like I just know what this is gonna be,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to follow like the foundation of this relatively easy with my sound and how I've like crafted it already. Is feel like it'll be pretty straightforward, and it was.
And I see that you've been saying like oxymoron, that theme keeps recurring. So that was the foundation of the album. Like you said, it was like things kind of being oxymorons and not really making sense, but going together still.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have. I'm gonna just bring up the first single from the album, Bittersweet. That is
Yeah.
the most classic oxymorons, and I was just telling Malaya about the concept that I had in mind, and she just told a really incredible story about how we can tend to self-sabotage something based on prior situations that we've been through and we project onto other
Yeah, you
people.
hear that in her lyrics too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Shout out. 'Cause
Yeah,
she's
Malaya is
amazing. Her
incredible.
pen game is stupid.
How did that collaboration come? Because I didn't sing a lot of Malaya's stuff, like things going viral online and then tapping into her own discography. So I was like really happy to see that. And
Yeah,
then did you know that that's definitely going to be like the song that drops into the story, like after the intro?
for sure. I think first of all, how that came together was I was struggling to find somebody for that beat because I felt like it was my sound, but just it was really elevated, but had a lot of quirky elements in it as well with that weird chord change, or some people have been calling it a breakdown, whatever you want to look at it as. One of my former A&Rs, Darrell, shout out Darrell, like, I love that guy. I was like, yo, I have this track, but I can't find anybody for it. Like, who are some new voices that you're like excited about? Because I love and appreciate his ear. And he sent me a track by Malaya and Terrace, and I was like, I'm gonna hit her up right now.
Yeah.
It only took one track. I didn't listen to anything else. I was like,
Wow.
I just love her approach. Actually, I went and listened to some more of her catalog before reaching out. But I just DM'd her, and she was like super down to be a part of it, and literally the ultimate professional when it came to getting the music done.
Period.
Like, pulled up to the session like right when it started. When she was in the booth, I'm like, oh, we'll probably, every artist works different. We probably gonna get, I don't know, maybe a verse and a hook done, and we can come back and finish the song. She was in the booth, like just humming and stuff for 35 minutes. And then she was like, okay, I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, just work for a couple hours, we'll be done. She knocked the whole song out. I'm like, oh, wow, I was not expecting that. I've actually never seen that before because
Wow.
structurally that song had like literally a 16 bar verse on the second verse, and usually you see that in R&B, but like I try to keep things a bit more minimal. But nah, she smoked every bit of that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like not even surprised though. I really do love her work and it makes a lot of sense because it's very jazz based.
Yeah.
And it's also like you said, experimental and like quirky in a way. And like I feel like Sticky Fingers is a really good example
Yeah.
of that. So I was like, wow, of course he knows Malaya and that she's on here and it was just like so dope. But is there a track that you're most excited for people to hear?
There's a lot of music I'm excited for people to hear. Like the intro. Like I just if I could just see everybody's reaction to that, I would definitely sign up for that. But the intro, probably Forever Near, to be honest. Forever Near and Temporary Love, but more specifically Forever Near because this is the first time like where feel like I nerded out on like the refrain to get into that reggae dub section
Yeah,
on
like
the
very
B section.
lovers rock.
That
It
was the
reminded me of
goal.
like Falling for Your Love.
But live drums this time, which was super duper rewarding. Shout out Josh for laying those chops. But yeah, I'm stoked about that one because there's a lot of elements of my core sound, but I'm introducing a lot of new things that people haven't heard from me either.
Yeah,
You
I feel like
know,
there's a lot of Latin influence too.
absolutely, I love bossa nova.
Yeah.
I love bossa. But that one, I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else within the diaspora for this one, and I feel like a lot of people will appreciate it. So there's that one. Temporary Love, I'm excited for people to hear because it like features my vocals, which has been a whole thing just getting over that hump. Because a lot of people tell me they love like records from Love and Chaos with my vocals. I really am not a fan of it anymore.
Oh,
That's how it goes for musicians,
yeah.
but for me, I finally figured out how to unlock like my own vocal production over my production
Awesome.
to be comfortable with that sound and feel comfortable putting it out into the world. And that one, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I could get somebody else to record me, but let's just maybe switch up the vibe in the house. Like, let's not record in the studio room. Let's move the setup to the bedroom, like back to the OG foundation. And I recorded it in my room. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was very difficult though. You don't really realize how loud New York is until you start doing stuff like this and everything starts to pass by
Right.
when you
Like you
need
need to
it
soundproof
quiet.
everything or just wait 5 minutes. Like, okay, I'll let you finish.
No,
I'll wait.
literally. But nah, that song was really rewarding. Like I played live drums on that. Like I did obviously do all the production and arranging for it, and then bring in all the other ancillary pieces to make it what it was. But those two tracks I'm really excited about. Also, just like the motif songs, you think about Perfect Imperfections, um, Empty Baggage with Kent, and then Inside Out, and then also Exit Interlude. I use a lot of the same drums, but just different patterns, just like that 70s, 80s classic drum machine sounds uh, with bossa nova rhythms, but just like they have different inflection points within them. And I hope people like catch those moments like, oh, I feel like I heard this song at some point in the album, like previously. And
Yeah.
then you start going back and listening, it's like, oh, like this has like a similar drum groove or the same sound and the same like bass sound. That was like completely intentional.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I did notice that. I felt like when I was kind of trying to pick out which songs were most up tempo versus other ones, because I was almost kind of like referencing your past work to try to see what the ratio of like up tempo songs to like slower songs are.
This one is a lot more mid down tempo. I didn't
Yeah.
really realize that until we were figuring out like when we were gonna drop it. Cause initially I wanted it to be an end of summer album, but I was like, it feels good as a start of fall album.
It
There's
does.
so much like mid down tempo stuff. The fastest track is really Reasons Why, like feeling wise more than anything. But everything else is like pretty mellow. I feel like you can cut it on at any moment, at any point.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like especially the one with Mac that I keep referencing, that one kind of lifts like it'll like it's such a bright song.
Yeah,
So I think that whatever season you do listen to it in that one in particular, I think it's just gonna like raise everybody's vibe and make them
for
like feel
sure.
happy.
I wanted it to be a year-round album. You can put this on at any point. Like even during the summer, maybe it's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
sunset album or a start
Yes.
of the day album.
Literally sunset.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I literally wrote that down. I was like, sunset and wine glasses. Like, it's just really, really vibey. And I know that you're a very overall conceptual artist. Like, visuals are really important too, and kind of the ways that you think about people even enjoying it.
Right.
So, what do you think that, do you think about that aspect as you're creating the album and kind of building the world around Inside Out while you're making it?
Yeah, I think some of it is just kind of second nature based on the things that I like to indulge in and do. Like everyone who knows me on a personal level, if you call me at 4 or 5 o'clock on a random Tuesday, I'll probably be at a wine bar somewhere. And I think I wanted I wanted how it sounded sonically to reflect a lot of the things that I'm personally into.
Yeah.
One of my homies, Jennings, who helped with the art design for the album, he asked me some really important like marketing questions that I didn't even think about during the album, but I guess just when you're in life, sometimes you don't take a moment to step outside of that and think about the listener. Like you think about your main core fan base, but as you go throughout life and you evolve, you collect not a new set of friends, but you add more people into your life, and that reflects within the music. So he'll ask me questions like, okay, who's the listener? Okay, it's a woman. Okay, how old is she? What does she do? What does she do in her spare time? What does she do for work? Okay, she likes fragrances. What does she like to wear? Those types of
Wow, like
things.
audience profile kind of. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I kind of ideated those things subconsciously and didn't even know.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and it shows up within the music as
If
well.
you're intentional, I feel like it just like
Yeah,
comes out.
for sure.
Yeah. So, what is like the ideal way that you would love for someone to enjoy the album? I'm sure just like enjoy the album in general, stream it, but
Yeah.
what would be the ideal setting?
I would say the ideal setting would probably be like winding down at night. That's the best vibe for me, or just a walk, like an aimless walk though. not like you have a purpose or you know where you're going. It's just like, because that's how I like to travel. I don't like to have a mission for every place that I'm going to. It's like, oh, just walk around. And then you kind of create like a soundtrack with the scenery and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm a Pisces. I'm just very floaty like that. So when I was in Paris last year, I have a couple albums that I was identifying with like the scenery based on what I was listening
What
to.
were you
So
listening to?
um, I was listening to the homie Demetrius, who is on. He's an incredible up and coming artist. Like he got it. He did the backgrounds for Inside Out. Like when you hear that person like
There
going
was somebody
crazy
going
at the end,
I was about to
I was like,
ask.
who is
You
this
didn't know
boy?
it.
That was
Like,
not me. No, no, no. He did all the backgrounds
I
for
was like,
that.
okay, Kev. I just
No,
like
no,
it.
no. I wish, but no, that was him. His EP was kind of like the soundtrack for Paris and a lot of other music too. But yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I like to attach sonics to what's going on scenery wise.
Yeah, yeah. Because, like I said, the album is very visual, very narrative driven, but all of your work has been. And then I remember Cafe Noir during like the listening session that you had, you were talking about being really interested in sound design,
Yeah.
all of that. And this is unrelated, but still related. Thinking about kind of how people would introduce you, do you feel like it's, I know that there can be confusion. Like when I talk to whoever, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, y'all know like Flwr Chyld, like, oh, okay, does he sing? Does he rap? It's like, no,
Yeah.
like he's a producer, he's a arranger, he's a,
Yeah.
and it kind of reminds me, well, it does remind me of like how Quincy Jones, like, Q's Juke Joint and Back in the Block, or like how he had different artists come in to serve this vision of an album
Yeah.
that he put together. When you think about like his loss, losing him last year, and like his legacy of music, like did that impact you, and how did you, I guess, process through that time and like.
I think a lot of what we do as musicians, we have to think about where we are and how we're paying it forward.
Yeah.
Because we're literally standing on the shoulders and backs of people that came
Right,
before us.
legacy, I guess is what I was trying to get
Yeah.
at. Yeah,
So how are you
that's legacy.
continuing that legacy? Because I've always like told people I am trying to like get Quincy Jones level with it. Like I don't. Sometimes there's a lot of confusion about what it is that I do. Like you'll know I'm a musician, but you don't know what I did with the song. Like yes, I produced the song, right? But I don't play guitar, But I'm also like letting whoever it is that I bring into the song know, hey, this is how I want it to be played. Like, but also add like your own thing to it. And you have the freedom to go different places, but from what you hear with Quincy, he's just one, an incredible A&R, and then two, an incredible musician. And for me, like losing legends like that, you just, use it as an opportunity to continue to just pay it forward and make sure that, you know, we do things like this and have conversations about these greats that came before us so that their names like live on forever and that their legacy lives on forever too.
And how often do you think about that? Or do you just try to stay present with like project to project?
No, I think about that all the time because that goes into what it is that you're creating. You don't want to just make whatever and put it out because on a personal level, I don't want to look at anything that I put out 3 years ago and think to myself like I shouldn't have did that.
Right.
You know, because there's the conversation of records that I don't have an emotional attachment to, but in the moment, I felt great about it. And that's all you want. You don't ever want to be willy nilly with things and just say, I'm gonna put this out just to put it out and make some money. That's not what we do it for.
No.
So I think for me, yes, I'm very present and I like to be in the moment when I'm creating and whatnot. But it's all feeling based and I always tell people the legacy I want to leave behind is just a very honest approach to music. Like I love music. So I don't do it that's the foundation. Like, you can't escape the music business. That's a part of it. But at the end of the day, you just want to have as honest of an approach to creativity as possible.
Yeah. And you can hear that in your work. Like that's what I think I loved about it immediately. I think there's also other artists, like all the ones that you have in your album where I'm like, I can tell they love music. It's just like
Mhm.
a feeling and like a knowing.
Yeah.
And I wonder, with all the resources that you have been able to work with now, and the different people at your who you can just call up and whatnot, like that you didn't have before when you were just getting started. And
Yeah.
how do you stay grounded and keep it about just the love of it, even though there might be noise and now you have like new
Yeah.
responsibilities involved?
I think just, I mean, I still don't even have all the answers to that right now
Mm-hmm.
because, like, when you're in it, it's hard to think about those things. I think for me, in terms of staying grounded, I try to, you know, like you mentioned, I do journal every day, or I make a concerted effort to journal and just take time out to meditate. You know, my therapist told me, she's like, you don't always have to just close your eyes to meditate. Like, you could look at something for a long time and just kind of like view it from a different perspective on a different day, and just like keeping an open mind to things like that when you're on your walks and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And just, I think being as present as possible is the answer to staying grounded, and just really trusting the process, and like remembering where your feet are at all times. Because it's easy to get jaded, you know, because people will ask me, "Oh, how is it being a full time musician?" And some days I'm like, "It's hard. It's really hard, and I don't enjoy it." And then there's other days where I'm like, "Man, everything that I have is because of music." And when you think about it in that sense, you're able to, I don't know, approach it with a super heightened level of gratitude. And as long as you continue to keep leaning into that and reminding yourself of that and continuing to show yourself grace, it's a lot easier to just work through it and stay grounded.
Because I was thinking about that today too, like the idea of the person who you used to be, who's looking at you now, like, dang, if I was in this position, I'd be doing this and that and that.
Yeah.
And then the person who you're going to be in 10 years, who's looking at you like, I remember
Yeah.
that phase, that transition season that I was in, and like, seeing it from like both sides.
Yeah. It's, I, I think about like pictures of little me, and I'm like, he'll be proud. Like
Oh,
genuinely about like where you are, you know, because I, again, I use the word jaded a lot because I see it happen so much with myself and other peers in the space, because there's so much frustration that comes with being a full-time musician. There's, I mean,
I feel like full time doing whatever you dreamt of and being in the
yeah,
reality of it.
because it's, it starts from a very pure place, and then once it becomes survival, it's a whole different approach to it, and you
Exactly.
can lose your inner child approach to the thing that you love, and you have to work as much as possible to hold on to that and really nurture that as much as possible.
Like, how do you have fun under pressure?
um I just turn my brain off. I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm not dealing with this today. And
Yeah.
like, for me, I have to tell myself I'm having a good week. It used to be I'm having a good day. It's like I'm having a good week. As long as I can set out to do that, if I have a bad day along the process of having a good week, I can live with that. But also, in the same breath, I say take it a day at a time as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then does that go into the challenges that you had to overcome throughout the making to like get out of the noise? Because I remember you telling me that the music was the easiest part
Yeah.
of putting this together. But what are you comfortable sharing us about challenges that you went through?
I mean, to speak candidly, you know, when you're dealing with labels, I think everyone has an initial vision of how they want this to go. But I've realized that there's so many moving parts once you become a part of this thing, especially on the major label side. And you just have to, again, I keep going back to staying grounded, but also doing your best not to take it personal. Because sometimes it feels like it can become that way. Like a lot of lines get blurred. Uh, you know, the business is the business, but I do think it's necessary growing pains at the end of the day. Perspective is really important, and that's what I've come to realize throughout this whole situation. Like, oh, okay, I've been indie for X amount of years. I have that perspective. I felt like I needed to do this. I've been through it. Whether it was the greatest experience or not, I can leave that situation with newfound perspective on what it is. It informs my decision making moving forward. And I think that's the biggest part. Like, like musically, it allowed me it allowed me an opportunity to build on my like creative foundation as is. And then as you move forward, you know how to, it makes you a better businessman throughout the process. And at the end of the day, that's the goal, you know. Becoming better on the business side allows for you to just make better decisions for your future. But the only way to do that is to go through the fire,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah.
And remembering like failure is literally stepping stones that you have to step on to get to success.
Yeah.
Like not being like, oh, I didn't get it that time, or I didn't da da da,
Yeah.
and like letting it destroy you.
And understanding like growth isn't linear.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that's how it works. Growth is not linear. You're gonna fall like probably 10, 15, 20 times before you get back up, you get running again. But you have to have some bumps and bruises in it in order to get to where you want to continue to go.
And in your approach to music, was there, not to the music itself, but like to knowing I want to be a musician, was it a shift that went into you becoming more business minded? Or because I know that it first just started with love music. So how did you shift into being more business savvy?
You don't really have a choice, honestly. I mean, objectively, the music industry is really predatory. So it comes more so from a place of you needing to protect yourself.
Real.
Because, you know, we know the story of like black musicians.
Look, unsung every single episode.
Yeah, we know the story of how it goes. So, I mean, when you start to commodify art, there's a lot of things that come with that. So you got to be on your P's and Q's and make sure that like, these people are always going to be good, no matter how the situation goes for you. You got to figure out how to take certain information and apply it to whatever you got going on next to help improve your situation. So, I mean, yeah, there's so much I can get into, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Of course,
I
of
feel like
course.
that will really help somebody, especially in those shifts of being like, I, you know, maybe speaking from their perspective, like want to be a musician, they would love to be in your position. It's like, what does that look like? You know, it's bittersweet.
It literally is. I was talking to Grim about this, and we were just saying, you know, a lot of the albums and what it represents in its symbology is a direct reflection of everything you've been going through right now. Figuring out what is the best situation for you, what's the best partner. Like, you know, it looks good, the glitz and glam and stuff like that, but like ultimately, is it gonna help you get to where you need to go?
Metaphor for like so many different kinds of partnerships.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. Well, you gave us like the perfect soundtrack for all of that. And yeah, I would love to dive into the influences of the album,
For sure.
get into some stems, get nerdy with some things.
Yeah.
So,
Let's do it.
all right, let's go.
For sure.